guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah if you are new here. Today's video is going to be a what's for dinner video. It's been a little while since I've done them. I know that they're popular and that a lot of you guys like them. So that is what I am here to provide you today so that you don't have to go look through all of my other videos and sift through all of my talking and daily shenanigans to get the recipes that you want. A little info on me and my family before we get going so you know what kind of meals to expect. I am married to a very picky eater, and then I have 2 kids. They are also picky. Last little thing that is important is I cannot have gluten. I have recently developed a gluten allergy, probably more of like a sensitivity, because I have discovered that if I eat sourdough, I don't have the same reaction as eating just regular bread products or flour products. And I did some research, and basically the fermentation process within sourdough takes about 90% of the gluten out. So if you don't have a true allergy like celiac, and it's more of like a mild allergy or sensitivity, then sourdough sometimes, because so much of that gluten is taken out, it's not a problem. Last thing before we get into the video, all recipes will be linked down in the description. If I used a recipe, if I didn't use an actual recipe, I will let you know. If it's an intense one, I will type it out down in the description. There will be timestamps listed down in the description box for every recipe. So if you are looking for a specific recipe, maybe the thumbnail caught your eye and you want something specific, you can go down to the description and just click on the time right next to the recipe, and it will take you to that part of the video where that starts. That's enough of me talking. Let's get into it. Tonight I'm making a chicken pot pie with biscuits. For the recipe, you need cooked chicken. I had rotisserie chicken in the freezer that I pulled out and thawed earlier in the day, so I'm going to use that. Cream of chicken soup, I don't have any of that. I'm going to make my own here in just a minute with gluten-free flour. I actually don't know if cream of chicken soup has gluten in it. You need some vegetables. I'm using peas and carrots today, garlic, ground pepper. It does call for cheddar and mozzarella cheese. I'm just going to put a little bit of Colby cheese in because that's what I have, but also I don't want to put a bunch of cheese in. And then the recipe, here's where I'm making the biggest modification for it to be gluten-free for me, is the recipe calls for like one of those Pillsbury cans of biscuit that are like in the can and you take them out and bake them. Those have gluten in them, so I actually have Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit mix that's gluten-free, and I'm going to make it similar to how the recipe says, but just use those biscuits instead. If you are not gluten-free, you could use the Cheddar Bay biscuits in the regular version, or you can use just the biscuits. It seems like this is a pretty simple recipe, so I am excited and I'm hungry, so let's get into it. Also, thanks so much for being here, and don't forget to subscribe before we get going. I'm just starting out making the biscuits by the directions on the box. I did add mozzarella and some Colby cheese because that's what I had, and then scoop them up, and I do put them in the like butter sauce later is what the pan says to do. So I used parchment paper, but then I still did spray the scoop because I didn't want them sticking to them. The texture of the gluten-free Cheddar Bay biscuits definitely feels different than the regular ones. It's more like kind of like a sandy texture, honestly. But anyway, while those were cooking, then I got the filling ready, and I used rotisserie chicken. I had gotten some from Sam's Club a while ago and just put it in the freezer, so I thawed it out during the day and then just chopping it up. And then I do the same with carrots, and then I also have a bag of frozen peas. The frozen peas, I did microwave them for a little bit and start to cook them, only because the chicken was already cooked and the carrots were cooked, and I didn't want frozen peas going into the mixture and then making everything super cold and it taking so long to cook.
Just pulled up to the house, don't feel like getting out. I'ma just lay back and crack this window. I've been doing my best, taking a moment to...
This recipe, it calls for cream of chicken soup, but that has wheat in it, so I can't have it. And so I'm just making my own with some butter, some flour, garlic, salt, and pepper, just getting a nice base, and then it mixes chicken broth, chicken stock, bone broth, whatever you have, with milk, and that's why it's kind of like a brown color, because I just mixed them together in the same measuring cup. And you want to add your liquids slow so that your sauce doesn't break. And then adding in the chicken with the vegetables there, and just getting it all well coated. And then I did add a little bit of cheese to it, not a whole lot, because there's also cheese in the biscuits, so it wasn't necessary.
putting all of that filling into a 9 by 13. I actually think this is a little bigger than a 9 by 13, but you want to spread it out evenly. And then it basically just goes in the oven until your biscuits are cooked the rest of the way, because you don't cook the biscuits all the way. I forgot to mention that. You cook them most of the way. And then putting them in that butter mixture and putting them on top. It didn't fill the whole top like the biscuits would have if I would have gotten the regular Pillsbury biscuits, but these turned out really good, and I actually really liked this meal. This is what it looked like when it was done. And I also thought that the leftovers heated up really well, which sometimes can be difficult with casseroles. You don't know what you're going to get.
My friends, hello. I know this is a what's for dinner video, but I'm gonna throw a dessert in there, maybe. So I wanted to make these Flourless Monster cookies so that I can eat them. I almost said monsterless. I hope they're monsterless. Anyway, I need 2 cups of oats, and I don't know if there's 2 cups in here. Full recipe only makes 15 cookies, so I don't think I could have it because that would be a lot of work for not a whole lot of reward. So I need to measure these out quick before we actually get going. I'm gonna be so sad. Oops. Okay. That's 1. I think we're gonna be okay. Okay, we have 1.5 cups. I'm gonna make it work. So let me tell you what we need, what we're doing. Again, Flourless Monster cookies. You are going to need butter, sugar, brown sugar, peanut butter, an egg yolk, vanilla, oats, baking soda, salt, chocolate chips, and mini M&Ms. We'll get these made, and then we're also doing dinner tonight, so don't think I forgot. Be right back. First things first, you need some softened butter, but mine was frozen, so I put it in the microwave and it went too long. I've been letting it sit here so it's cooled off just a little bit. Butter, a 1/2 cup of regular granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I'm very talkative today, and I feel like you guys are like, shut up, Sarah, just give us a voiceover. Let's mix this up. To my bowl that has the oats in it, I'm going to add the baking soda and the salt and mix it up. Gosh, my hair is everywhere. 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt.
My kids found me and got crazy. So you just add basically the rest of the ingredients in except for the oat mixture, and it'll get nice and creamy. After it's creamy, that's when you want to add in the oat mixture. And then when it gets done, you don't want to over mix it. So when it's just mixed, take it out and I used a rubber scraper to scrape it off the sides, and then add in chocolate chips and mini M&Ms and get those all nice and folded in. And then if nobody has ever taught you this, if parchment paper is being a pain in the butt and you can't get it to lay nicely in your pan, crumple it up like you're going to throw it away, but then smooth it out again and it'll fit perfectly. The recipe said not to overcrowd the cookie sheet, so I did only put 9 on there, and that was good because they flattened out a lot. These were delicious though, and I will definitely be making them again.
For dinner tonight, we're going to have Philly cheesesteak. Normally I would add in like some peppers or something. Completely forgot to buy any this week. So I have an onion I'll slice up. I do have some sad looking jalapenos. They'll be fine for this. So I'm going to go ahead and slice those up too and put those on my sandwich. My husband does not like that on his, so he's not going to have that. I have this like already seasoned sirloin Philly steak from Walmart. It is frozen. I'm just letting it sit out for a little bit to start to thaw a little bit, and then I'll just fry that up in my cast iron. And then we're going to top it with provolone cheese. For my husband, I'm going to do a King's Hawaiian. They're like a mini sub roll, so this is one of them. I can't have that, but I can have sourdough. So I bought this sourdough loaf from Hy-Vee. Will it be the same? No. Will I be disappointed? Probably. Will it be food? Yes. And then I'm making some french fries with it as well that I'm going to give the boys. They are not going to eat this. They're just going to have sandwiches.
Just had to slice up the veggies. Slice them however thin you want.
I want to be daring, baby, dance the night away. I let my head down if I want. Don't you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time? Doesn't sound like fun. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. So much better. I don't fit into your bars. Beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better. I dare you to.
Then the meat goes into the cast iron. The cast iron had heated up, so it was hot and it's going to get nice and crispy. You want it to kind of caramelize a little bit. There will be a little water in the pan that evaporates. That's just because it was frozen.
I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. I want to be silly, baby, dancing.
And I move the meat to the side, start cooking up the onions and jalapenos, and then I'll divide it here in a little bit and put half of the meat with that so that it's all like mixed together and can kind of get the seasoning from the beef as well.
Right away, I'll kick my shoes off if I want. Let yourself be free and maybe you will find that there is more to life than being pretty. Honey, let's just face it. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. So much better.
And then just putting a little bit of mayo on the sourdough, putting the meat mixture on top, and then provolone. And then I did put it in the air fryer to crisp up the bread first. And then once I put the cheese on here, I put it in for just like literally 30 seconds to get that cheese nice and melted. And this was very good. Not the same as what it normally tastes like with the other bread, but it was good.
I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better.
Hello, look at this little hair. Tonight for dinner, I am making, hold on, I forgot what it's called. Crunchy hot honey chicken, mashed potatoes, and some sort of veggie. I don't know yet if I want to do corn or carrots. Okay, you are going to need chicken, all-purpose flour. I'm going to use gluten-free flour, eggs, cornflakes, like cereal cornflakes, garlic powder, paprika, salt, pepper, and vegetable oil, cooking spray, something of that nature. Honey and hot sauce, but I actually have hot honey, so I'm just going to use that instead of making the honey hot sauce combo. Melted butter and apple cider vinegar. I think those four, yeah. So the honey, hot sauce, butter, and apple cider vinegar, that's for the sauce. I'll leave this recipe linked down below, but I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use the hot honey that's in my pantry. That's why I decided to do this recipe anyway, because I've had it forever, because I saw somebody use it in a recipe for like a breakfast toast. Unless I buy sourdough bread because I haven't figured out how to make it yet, I'm not eating bread because I can't have just like full-fledged gluten. It's a baked recipe. You could also probably fry it too. But pretty much we're going to slice our chicken, get a dredging station set up, flour, egg, cornflakes, put it on a cooking sheet with a wire rack. I'm gonna spray the rack too, just to make sure that we're good, no sticking. Cook it, and then you coat it with the sauce afterwards. So this will be perfect because I can feed it to my kids before I put the sauce on, and then I will add the sauce for my husband and I. And then I'm just gonna make some good old mashed potatoes. Let's get into it.
So for this meal, I am kind of butterflying the chicken just because I don't want them so thick so that they'll cook a little easier, and then cutting them into strips and, you know, trimming them up. I'm just cutting them into some like easier sized pieces for us to eat. And then making the dredging station, like I said, this calls for all-purpose flour, but I'm using gluten-free, and just put a little bit of pepper in there. And then the eggs, 2 eggs, and I put like a splash of water in there just to thin it out enough to like really coat. And then the cornflakes going in the food processor thing just to make them crumbs. You could break them up with your hands if you wanted. I actually dropped the box of cornflakes right after I had put it in there, and it was a disaster, literally. Also, I don't have like a plated version of this to show you because as I was taking this pan out of the oven, I realized that my oven mitt was very thin and I started to burn myself. And I didn't know what to do, and instinct took over, and my other hand reached for the pan, the one that didn't have an oven mitt on it, and I burnt my hand very, very badly. We were able to eat, and it was delicious, but I just had to run my hand under cold water while also trying to plate food for everybody, while also containing my crazy children, while doing all of the things, you know. So, but the recipe was really good, and I just coated it with this Mike's hot honey stuff that you'll see here in a minute. That's all I have to share with you today. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before we go, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.